Now come on, you hear all these influencers telling you how fun it is to be disciplined, but then you wonder, how come it's not fun for me at all then? Am I just broken? Is something wrong with me? Why can't I just be disciplined and do the boring work day after day? Whenever you do a little work, you start getting distracted pretty quickly, and before you know it, you end up binge watching content or playing your favorite video game for hours or watching Netflix until 3 in the morning. So you go to bed late and you wake up late and you hate yourself for it, and the cycle repeats again and again and again. In this video, I'm going to show you how I stopped putting things off and how I went from being a massive procrastinator to being extremely disciplined and doing the boring work every single day. And the strategies I'm going to share with you in today's video are exactly what have allowed me to go from being broke, not making any money, being anxious to the point I couldn't even leave the house for months just to go for a walk in the neighborhood, promising myself, oh, I'd be so productive, but then I would wake up the next day and I wouldn't work on my business. Instead, I would spend my whole morning watching movies on streaming websites because I couldn't even afford Netflix at the time. So I went from that to making over $1,000 per day in profit with my own consulting business in my early 20s. And I'm not telling you this to brag because I don't care about that. I'm telling you this just to inspire you and to show you what's actually possible to accomplish as long as you don't give up. The first thing I'd like to share with you is that you need to find your why. Like, honestly, take the time to ask yourself, what's your reason for doing the boring hard work? Nowadays, I wake up at 5 a.m. and I work pretty much all day. I begin at 5:30 and I usually stop my work day at 7 p.m. The only time in my day where I have a break, it's when I go to the gym, so it's not even a real break per se. But the reason why I'm telling you this is because if you met me now and you met me 5 years ago, you would not even believe you're talking to the same person, because 5 years ago I was extremely different. I desperately wanted to become successful because growing up in the lower middle class, we often suffered from lack of money, and it just made me want so much more out of life, because every single day I heard my parents complaining about the price of bread, of electricity, of clothes, of everything, and I genuinely felt like we were living half of a life, because at school I could see these rich kids getting dropped off in brand new Porsches, BMWs. They were walking around with expensive clothes from famous brands. Every year they would get the latest iPhone, while at the time I didn't even have a phone, and I had to force myself to get up super early just so I could take the crowded bus to go to school. I was miserable, I was depressed beyond reason. And in the summer, while I'd be forced to stay in my tiny room because we couldn't afford to go on vacation, I would see these wealthy kids like putting their stories on Snapchat, and they were going and they were having trips, they were having fun, while we couldn't really afford to do anything. And I'm going to be very raw, very vulnerable with you here, but one day when I was a teen, my mother got diagnosed with cancer, and so I promised her I would always be there for my sister. I'd always provide for her if something happened or if she needed me to. So of course I couldn't break my promise to her. I couldn't just let her down. I wouldn't have been able to live with myself if I had. And that's when I fully realized that it was my duty to become successful, to not only make my parents proud, to give back what they gave me, but to also prove to myself I could do something big with my life. And when I was only around 11 years old, I was about to turn 12, I stumbled upon a video on YouTube by an entrepreneur who showed how much money he made in the last month. Something like $70,000. It was insane. And I figured, oh my god, he's making that much money while traveling the world, while helping people. He was often making videos of himself, traveling from hotel to hotel, from country to country, and I was amazed by it, because I figured if I made $70,000 in a month, I could do anything I want. I mean, I'm sure you realize right now, if you were making $70,000 a month, you could do anything you want. Life would have no limits. And so that's where my whole journey started, with entrepreneurship and online business more specifically. And at first I tried countless business models and I failed miserably, because at the time I not only had so many fears and limiting beliefs, but I also wasn't working on the right opportunity and I had no one to help me. And so I spent so many years watching countless YouTube videos, but it's not until the day I invested in myself, I started working with mentors, that I saw significant results and I started to make thousands and thousands of dollars per month. And then I started making tens of thousands of dollars. So to help you, if you would like to discover how I make upwards of $1,000 per day, most of it being profit, with my own consulting business, I've recorded a free video in which I'm going to share with you everything I do step by step. That way, you can literally just copy me. Or you can also apply to book a call with me or my team, and we'll see if we can help you to build your business. You have to understand that human beings will only do something as long as they have a strong motivation to do it, but also anything that we do, it's always to avoid pain or to move towards pleasure. And sometimes it's even both at the same time. I started a business to avoid pain, so the pain of having to work a soul-crushing job, just like I saw my father, and it was making him miserable, completely depressed. I didn't want to end up like him. But I was also moving towards pleasure, which was my dream, to travel and to be able to work from anywhere in the world and to have no limits, to be able to purchase anything without having to sweat over the price tag. Because I understood from a very young age, to live well, you needed a lot of money. So for you, what's your vision first? Like, what do you want to accomplish? How much money do you want to make? What do you want your life to look like? But then you also want to use what we call an anti-motivation. So the goal of the anti-motivation is to show you how much worse things are gonna get if you don't start taking action, if you don't invest in yourself and get the guidance that you need to build your business. Because I'll tell you for a fact, I speak to dozens of people on a weekly basis, and by now I've spoken to hundreds of people who wanted to start a business so they could quit their 9-to-5 jobs and become financially free. And sometimes I have people who reach out to me 6 months later, and guess what? Nothing has changed. They still haven't started their business because they waited passively for something to change all of a sudden. But change only happens when you make it happen. So when you're done watching this video, I really invite you to take the time to just sit by yourself in a quiet room with a notepad and a pen and literally write your vision, so what you want, but also write down what you absolutely don't want. And the scary thing is that you might write your anti-vision down and you realize it's extremely close to your current life. So for example, me a couple years ago, I think 5 years ago, I wrote down my anti-vision, and I wrote down that I was out of shape, that I was working a job I hate, driving a shitty ass car, still living at my parents, and that I was also still lonely. And then I looked at the list of things I wrote and I realized the only difference with my anti-vision and where I was that I had a job in my anti-vision. But that's it. My life was my anti-vision. And if you're honest with yourself, chances are your life is your anti-vision. But if you don't do anything different than what you're used to doing, you will stay exactly where you are. And year after year, it's only getting worse for everyday people because the price of everything will not stop going up. So if your income doesn't go up with it, you are screwed. There's no other way of saying it. So now that you know what you want, you need to set clear goals, because if you don't have clear goals, you will most likely end up becoming complacent and you will fall short every single time. It's like if you set the goal to make $100,000 this year with your business, even if you don't reach it because you have a goal, at least you're going to work hard to reach that goal. So you'll end up so much further ahead than if you set no goal at all or a small goal. And that's also why a few years ago, because I was lacking clarity, being disciplined felt extremely painful. I would force myself to try and wake up at 5:30 a.m, but I could only stick to it for a couple days at best, and then I would go right back to my bad habits and to my vices. And the reason for that was simple. I didn't have a proven step-by-step process to follow to reach my goals. And so because of that, I lacked clarity. So I felt like I was just constantly walking on this unknown path with no certainty, no guarantee of ever getting what I wanted. So of course I wasn't motivated. Of course getting up early and being disciplined, putting in the work was scary and not rewarding at all. So then I wouldn't do it. But nowadays I wake up every morning at 5 and like I'm excited for the day ahead. I just open up my laptop, I make myself a cup of tea and I get straight to work because I know exactly what I need to do to reach my goals. So it becomes easy. It becomes kind of like a game. It's like, have you ever played a video game and then you got stuck at a certain level and you got so frustrated you had no idea of how to keep going, and so at some point you just burnt out and you didn't want to play the game anymore? Well, lots of people, that's exactly what happens to them in their real life, and that's a problem. So I really invite you to write down on a piece of paper all of the reasons why you want to start a business, or why you want to get in shape, or why you want to improve your social skills, or whatever it is that you want to do, and to look at that list every morning. You can even write certain affirmations to literally program your brain to start becoming the version of yourself who has these things, because you will not change your life with the same thinking and behavior that created the problems that you have right now. And that's why you need to evolve into a better version of yourself. The version of me that's making tens of thousands of dollars right now, I am extremely different from the version of myself I was 5 years ago. 5 years ago I was so anxious I couldn't even pick up the phone to call my hairdresser to book an appointment. Yeah, I know it sounds pretty pathetic, but that's the truth. Now the next thing I would like to share with you is to celebrate all of your wins because they matter. And I know that when you're extremely ambitious, it can be very difficult to appreciate the small progress that you make on a daily basis because you're never satisfied. You always want more. Even when you get a win, you sign a client, you want more. And so you struggle to appreciate the present moment. And if this is you, I can relate to you because I am like this. Since I'm extremely ambitious, I'm never satisfied. I'm always moving on to the next goal. But sometimes it's good to just remind ourselves to just enjoy the present moment because it's the only moment we have for sure. And besides, you deserve to appreciate the fruits of your hard work. At the end of the day, the reason why people like you and I work so hard is not so we can make $1 million and die with $1 million. The goal is not to chase numbers on a screen. The goal is to build a life that we love, to wake up in the morning excited for the day ahead. That's why we do it. That's why I do it. Now, something that you can do to make doing the boring work fun is to link the boring activity that you don't feel like doing, but that is necessary for you to reach your goals with something that you enjoy. So to give you an example, in the morning when I wake up, especially during the winter, you know, it's like all dark, rainy and cloudy outside. It's 5 a.m. I'd much rather just stay in bed, you know? But instead, I forced myself to get out of bed, and 5 years ago I couldn't do this in full transparency, so it took me years to become disciplined and to actually stick to it. And so as long as you don't give up, honestly, you will get there. It's just a matter of time. But so what I do is that to motivate myself to do the boring work, I make myself a nice cup of warm tea. Typically, I'm going to drink some Earl Grey. Then when you're working out, you can can make yourself a specific playlist and only allow yourself to listen to it while you're working out. I mean, the only time I listen to music, other than binaural beats or like music to focus, it's when I'm working out. And sometimes like I'm not motivated to work out, but because I found these new songs, this new playlist, I'm super pumped and I'm excited to go and to do my workout because I'm going to listen to those songs that I really appreciate. Now, something else I'd like to share with you is that you need to focus on doing the work today, because what a lot of people fail to understand is that the results that you get today, they come from yesterday's hard work. Einstein said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. And that applies to everything in life. He wasn't only talking about the stock market. Always remember this. Today's results come from yesterday's hard work, because there's always a delay between the moment you do something and the moment you get the result from this action. If you go to the gym, you start working out consistently for a few weeks, it's not like you wake up and the next day you're super jacked. You've got 20 more pounds of muscle, or you lost 20 pounds in only 2 weeks. But 6 months later, you'll look in the mirror, you'll look at the pictures that you took, and you will look extremely different. You will see a huge change. In business or anything else in life, it's the same thing. But most people never get what they want because they give up far too soon. You can't expect to reap fruits that you saw 1 hour ago only. That doesn't mean you cannot get fast results, you absolutely can, but there is always a tiny delay at least between the moment you take action and the moment the outcome of this action manifests. Now look, it's time for you to make a choice. You can keep watching YouTube videos, but doing this will not change your life and it will not help you to build a profitable business. But if you are part of that minority of ambitious individuals who's committed to build a profitable business so you can become financially free and be able to quit your 9-to-5 job, I invite you to check out the free resources in the description below, or to directly book a call with me or my team, and we'll see if we can help you to build your business. With that being said, if you found this video helpful, share it with a friend, and together, let's blow up this YouTube channel to empower more people to become financially free. And to thank you, when we get to 100,000 subs, I will be giving away $10,000.